pumped up for this.
I don't want to act like I know anything about him.
We need to find you a hobby.
Colin Kaepernick is a quarterback. You do things.
You have to actually do something.
Right.
The NFL requires, don't be some huge penalty if you're not actually trying.
Yeah.
You need to look this guy up.
Jarek McKinnon.
So you follow that gush up with this next section of gushing.
Treats your team like garbage and gives you that back.
I'm here for you.
I'm prepared to delete this entire podcast by about week 6. Gregory the Goat, the trophy that we all strive to attain, or better get through. Yeah. We are dumb. Welcome to the inaugural edition of the Unpremier League Fantasy League podcast, the UnpremierCast. I am your host, Matt Hulme, with my co-host, Brandon Shangraw.
It's all downhill from here.
And it is all downhill from here. So this is taking place about an hour after the draft, the 2014 draft. We're just gonna, run through the draft. We'll give grades and talk about each team, go through the roster.
We've sucked down as many Dr. Peppers as we can so that we can stay pumped up for this.
This should go pretty poorly, I'd imagine, and we'll see how far we get. We'll probably give up about 6 teams in, but we'll give our analysis, which of course is bound to be proven wrong by week 4. That's the whole point. Every team that we hate will probably be in the playoffs, and every team that we love.
So if you get a poor grade, you should think of that as a vote of confidence for your team this year.
Because we are dumb.
The worst.
That is all I have. All right, so let's just start from the top with the number 1 pick team. That would be the... I'm ready for this. Clearly, I have my notes in front of me.
Very prepared.
And I'm very prepared for this.
Very prepared.
The
Raiders.
That's the Numerian Raiders.
Yeah.
They would go with them.
So they do win most difficult name to pronounce so far.
So far, but there's some competition coming. That's Andy Garcia is the owner. So why don't you start us off, Brendan? What do you think?
Andy Garcia. So first pick, keeper, Phillip Rivers. Not in love with what's happening there. Giovanni Bernardo. There's some good running backs on this team. And Gio, although I say running backs, Chris Johnson is the number 2 on this team, and that's kind of hard for me to swallow as a team. I know, in our earlier discussions, I don't think either of us love that pick.
No. This is a pretty. Here's the problem with my problem with this team is I don't see where the points are coming from that I can count on each week.
Mm-hmm.
Where's my stud? Where's the guy that I know? If all else fails, this guy's going to produce for me. And that's my biggest problem with it. If Phillip Rivers is a good quarterback, Giovanni Bernard, like I said, he's probably the best player. He or Antonio Brown. Those are the 2 guys that I could be close to counting on.
You're forgetting Matt Prater.
I am forgetting Matt Prater. You're right about that.
The 6th round pick you're taking.
6th round pick.
That's your stud points.
Let me take it back a little bit. Giovanni Bernard could be a top 8 guy.
Yeah.
Top 8 running back. And I have no problem starting him as an RB1.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say that. And Antonio Brown, I really like as, a wide receiver 1. Eric Decker on the Jets. But then there's a pretty precipitous drop-off after that.
Yeah. Josh Gordon, if he gets to play this year, is a steal, even for a half a season.
Right. Yeah. I love, but rostering him, short benches, you have him for 8 weeks, so he won't play.
Right.
And that's if he does get to play.
If. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we'll find out the next couple of weeks. That's what makes part of this stuff. Drafting him, the risk.
You know it.
So I think I'm going to have to give, hate to say it, but this is a D to me.
Yeah, it's my first D as well.
All right. So this is, we're going to give this a D, and let's hope we're proven wrong.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the second pick is Mike. Team name is Mike 14.
Mike 14.
So we know who that team is. All right, so, Jay Cutler, serviceable quarterback, certainly has a lot of upside. If he plays 16 games, he could be top 7, 8 quarterback. I mean, with those weapons.
Yeah, you and I both like this, especially he fell quite a ways. So
Yeah.
this was a low investment. In the
Where
guy.
he was taken, and I
Yeah.
don't really know what round that was.
But he's a high upside guy,
Right.
especially getting him.
8th round guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
you
great.
love that one. Ray Rice, he's missing 2 games. You can stomach that. But if he's Ray Rice, he was even just 2 years ago. That's a steal for where
That
he
is a
went.
steal. That's a number 1.
Rashad Jennings, he's a number 1 for now.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't love his upside. I think he's serviceable.
Yeah, you and I are kind of torn on this one. I've never loved the guy. I think he's just a guy. I've watched some. We watched him play a little bit now, and he has looked really good. But for an older guy who's just now getting a starting opportunity, you'd have to wonder how much he's got left.
Yeah. He could be great. He could be great. And historically, Giants running backs are those guys that they can get you 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns, and they won't receive many passes, but they're steady.
By the way, can no one see these hand gestures I'm making during the podcast? I feel like these gestures are really making my points, but
with cameras there,
great.
there. But
you guys are gonna love this video.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Moving on, Jordy Nelson, AJ Green, and at the flex, Alshon Jeffrey. This is an amazing receiving core.
By far, this is the best receiving core.
No question, hands down, no competition.
This is the best fantasy.
Jordy is a top 10 guy. AJ Green, top 3, top 5 at worst.
Mm-hmm.
And Alshon Jeffrey, top 10 potential for sure, obviously from last year. At worst, 15. I mean, none of these guys are... Any of these guys would start on anyone's team.
Yeah, you can't hate that. And then you back that up on the bench with Mike Wallace, who we may not love, but as your 4th receiver on a team, that's an amazing...
Yeah, you need a bye week, he's a great guy to plug in.
Yeah, so this is the best group of receivers.
Absolutely. Eric Ebron is a...
The local police agree.
Yeah, the local police love that one. Eric Ebron is a is a pretty good tight end. He takes Pettigrew's spot.
Yeah, we don't know anything about him, right? He's a rookie.
I don't want to act like I know anything about him. He's the Detroit tight end.
Right. So could be great.
He could get you 800 yards and 8 touchdowns. The upside, let's say that.
Right.
So no problem with that.
Plus, he changed his Twitter account to pass catcher instead of tight end. So I know that about him.
Is that true?
Yes, that's absolutely true.
There you go. He's the pass catcher.
He's a pass catcher.
So Calvin Johnson, watch your back. The bench, other than Mike Wallace, a lot of guys that you're ifs. Let's say you're playing for the chance that other guys get hurt. Christine Michael, kind of the 3rd guy there.
Yeah.
In Seattle. Latavius Murray he's the 4th guy in Oakland. I mean, and C.J. Anderson.
2nd guy if Ball doesn't come back from the appendectomy, but he's really the 3rd or 4th guy.
Yeah, from what I hear, Ball's gonna be fine,
right.
And they're
absolutely.
I don't see much playing time for any of these guys. So
this is the best part of this team, though. This is the only 2 kicker team in the league.
You love it too.
I love it. Yeah.
You're kind of jealous.
This. I really am. I should have gone with this strategy because you never know, right? With
you
kickers.
never know. Yeah. San Diego, I think, with Nick Novak being the number 1 kicker on this team, they've had some history with kicker injuries. So they had Nate Kading for all those years, and then it's
Mike handcuffed his kicker. It's a bold move.
It's a bold move. It's not common, but you can't hate it until the season starts. You see how things start going down.
That's
so
right.
For me, top to bottom, the receivers are amazing, but everything else is below par to me.
It's average. Yeah.
Yeah. Cutler being average and everything else I don't love. So I'm going to give this a B-.
Okay. I'm also going to go with a B-.
You're really just copying me.
Yeah, absolutely. Following your lead. Following your lead on this one.
All right, so that's a B- for Mike. Let's move right along to the 3rd pick in the draft. Our 3rd team was Anna 16, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, had Anna as their team owner.
If not, this is a very confusing name.
I am completely off my rocker if I don't know. Please, nobody name your team after another person. We will have to change that.
We got to move away from
that. Brandon, why don't you take the lead on this one?
Yeah, so Anna's new to the league. Welcome to the league. Another new one. And
we're getting a bunch of new teams right now. We should really thank all of them for joining the league.
Welcome to the league.
Sorry.
Didn't mean to just thank Anna.
Yeah.
But no, this team starts off really well for me. So Cam Newton, he's always been a top 5 quarterback since he entered the league.
Absolutely.
but his weapons are lessened this year, so we all kind of are.
He's always been. Let's say we say top 5. He's been a 5.
Yes.
He's been the
He's
5.
been the 5.
He's the
every
5th
year,
guy. Yeah.
which is strange, but for a guy to be that consistent is really amazing.
Right. You can't really find much of that.
So we all think his weapons are lessened this year, so it's really hard to say where he'll be, but I can't hate that pick at all. And then you follow that up with 2 running backs who could be studs. Doug Martin,
Absolutely.
Some question marks there, and then Monty
Sure.
Ball, also some question marks, but top 5 upside with those running backs.
Absolutely. I think both Monty Ball being in that offense, obviously, if he does what No Sean Moreno did last year, he is a stud.
Yes.
And from what everybody says, and we know who No Sean Moreno was. We knew him before last year. He didn't change. He didn't become a better running back. He was just the number 1. He could pass block.
He is who we thought he was.
He is who we thought he was. But in that offense, if you're the number 1 running back, you are a machine. You're going to get carries and you're going to get goal line
Yeah,
opportunities.
they're seeing 5 guys in the box because they're worried about Peyton Manning, so there's always a huge hole.
Exactly. So, and look, I don't think they're going to be quite as prolific as they were last season, the Broncos, but I think that at minimum, if Monty is the guy and he's healthy, he's got 8 touchdowns, which you don't find many of. If we're talking 5 years back, 8 touchdowns, okay, that's a second round, third round guy.
Right.
But 8 touchdowns in today's NFL for a running back,
That's
as a bottom line, yeah. So, yeah, and Doug Martin, like you said, if he's healthy again and he looks anything like he did in his rookie season, and maybe he can be more balanced, he won't have those games where he gets 3s and then 28s.
Yeah, absolutely. If they don't run him to death, which he
Right.
looks like he might be in a small RBC, then he'll really have the potential to shine. So
Right. So that's great. Both guys could be an RB1, and you've got 2 of them.
solid.
Calvin Johnson, Reggie Wayne, love that wide receiver combo. Greg Olsen as your tight end. That's pretty solid. Terrence Williams is a pretty solid flex. He's a number 2 receiver on a pretty good offense at the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think we both like Terrence Williams, especially when you're looking at him in your flex, not your number 2 wide
And where he
receiver.
went, that's a great pickup.
Absolutely.
Chiefs defense, they'll be good. It won't be as good as last year, but they'll be good. Justin Tucker.
He has a foot, so that's
Yep,
what you
he
need
has
there.
a foot. He's got 2 of them, but he only uses 1. He's not a
Ambidextrous kicker.
right. He just uses the 1 usually. Then Jared Boykin, I love this guy on the bench as your 3rd receiver in Green Bay. When you had injuries last year to their lineup, he ended up being very serviceable.
And he looked really good. Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think another year in that system, he'll be even better if he can find time on the field, and I think he will. Because Cobb's going to be in the slot a lot, so you got to have a second guy out wide. Usually be him. Then
Anna was obviously just as worried about the quarterback situation as we were, because she went with Mr. Steady, nothing special about him, but consistent Alex Smith.
right,
So
consistent Alex Smith. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could be. And I'm not joshing with you here. He could be the 15th best quarterback
he could
in fantasy football.
He could absolutely end up.
He has that kind of upside. So
right in the middle.
And look, so that's fine. You need him for a bye week, and you got him. So Dexter McCluster, the other guy, upside. Maybe
Super
moving
talented.
super talented, moving to a new team. He's not playing behind Jamal Charles and kind of being the same kind of guy.
She does have this cool thing. Dexter McCluster is still, I think, one of the only players that is a wide receiver and RB at the beginning of the season.
So few of those, right?
So if he is,
as long as he's
good,
that,
she can plug him in anywhere.
Right,
So
that's great.
It's really great.
She has 5 spots to use him in. And Ahmad Bradshaw, he could be the starter.
Absolutely.
And Gavin Escobar.
She watched that tight end in the preseason game.
Yeah, she saw it and the second week of
Pretty
preseason.
stoked about it. Yeah.
Right, so we'll have to wait on that one. For me, I love Cam Newton, love the receivers, pretty solid bench. I guess my sticking points are, bench is fine. I don't think you need Alex Smith. I don't think you need Escobar. Dexter McCluster, I got to see something.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
For me, this is a really solid team. I like this team a lot. So for me, this team was a B+.
I'm a little more down on them than you, if only because Cam Newton doesn't have as many weapons, so I don't think he'll be any better than he was last year, and I think some quarterbacks will be better and may pass him, and then it all depends on if Doug Martin and Monty Ball can be what we think they can.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go B-. I'm a little bit more down on them than you, but that's a B. We go to the middle. we always go to the upside on these. So if it's a B plus or B minus, you get a B. So we're positive like that, even though Brandon's usually more positive than I am. All right,
Caught me in a good mood.
Yeah, exactly. Moving along to No Country for Old Manning, which is Kelsey with the 4th pick.
The reigning champion.
Yeah, let's not forget.
This is the champ.
This is the defending reigning world champion of the league.
She holds the GOAT.
She holds the GOAT, Gregory
right
the GOAT, the trophy that we all strive to attain. So, what do you think?
You just can't hate this team at the top.
No, you can't.
It's just locked in with potential. So at the top, Peyton Manning, her keeper, Eddie Lacy, also, just cannot hate either of those guys. So gotta love that top end potential. After that, for me, it gets a little rocky with the number 1 and number 2. So you've got Shane Vereen, which is a question mark, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We don't know what we're going to get out of him this year. Is New England going to use him the same way we thought? If this was a PPR league, maybe that's number 2 potential for me. And then Julian Edelman, I love this guy, but I don't know if he's your number 1. He's probably an 85, 90 catch guy.
He will get a lot of balls.
Yeah,
Yes.
and as you've described him before, the poor man's Wes Welker.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and that's all he'll ever be.
Absolutely.
Nothing wrong with that, but he will not be what Wes Welker was when he was with the Patriots,
Right.
or obviously the Broncos. Just didn't mean to cut you off if you want to keep going.
No, go.
Yes, Anquan Bolden. They have a lot of weapons this year in San Francisco. A lot more than they usually have, especially at receiver. Crabtree will be healthy for the full season. Vernon Davis. And I'm sorry, they added somebody.
Stevie Johnson.
Stevie Johnson. Look, I don't love the guy, but Bolden is at best, on a given week, the 3rd guy, maybe the 4th. They don't, they still run the ball a lot, even though with all those weapons. I don't know. He'll have his weeks, but he's not Anquan Bolden that he was a few years ago, and I don't think he'll be the same Anquan Bolden he was last year, which was good. He was a top 20 guy, I believe, last year.
Yeah.
But, I could be more down on him than I should be.
I agree. That team's loaded with weapons now. We'll see if they can stay healthy.
So Julius Thomas, love the pick. For sure a guy that's going to get, 700 yards minimum, 8 touchdowns, I think, And they've lost one of their big weapons, so, we'll see. DeAndre Hopkins, I love the pick. I think he may even be Andre Johnson's equal this year.
Yeah, we both really like DeAndre Hopkins.
Right.
He's got number 1 wide receiver potential.
Potential. I don't think he's going to be that. I think he's a wide receiver 2 potential for sure.
Yeah.
So good flex. Saints defense should be good. Skipping kickers, who cares? They all have legs. Mark Ingram. I don't like New Orleans running backs. When they had Darren Sproles, that was the only one I liked.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have many more. There's a bunch of guys. Who knows? LeGarrette Blount. If something happens to Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, well, look, LeGarrette is going to be. He could vulture, which is what he did last year. But that's it, I think. Andre Williams. He's the Giants' number 2 right now, but he could move into at least a timeshare role. I think that's his upside. He could get you, 600 yards, maybe a couple hundred receiving, 4, 5, 6 touchdowns. Is his kind of season to me.
Yeah, I definitely feel like he's got more potential than the starter on that team.
Right.
We both kind of agree. We think it's just a guy. So that's a really good pick on your bench because who knows how that shakes out. 3 or 4 games into the season.
Right. In the last few years, at least, the Giants have really gone to timeshares.
Yeah.
So. Ryan Tannehill, not sure why you need him. Don't know why when you have Peyton as your starter. Peyton's playing 16 out of 17 weeks.
Sure. In a short bench league like this, we're seeing a lot of 2 quarterbacks on teams, and that's I'm still not quite understanding that.
Right. Yeah. But I guess Tannehill will be the starter, and you just want a little bit of a just in case.
Hey,
so
you
that's
can't
fine.
question the champ though. At some extent,
right. So we have to allow her the free will to do that. Chris Polk, he's a guy.
He's a guy. We both.
He's on our roster.
He's an NFL football player.
For sure, and I don't think he'll be cut. I don't think he'll be cut from the Eagles, but he's not going to see much playing time unless there's some injuries. So, for me, look, love Peyton, love Lacy, love Julius Thomas. Yeah, and I really like DeAndre Hopkins. But everywhere else, there's a steep drop off. So really high upside, but there's not much depth. So I'm going to go C+.
So for me, this team is again, really, really good talent at the top, and then I again feel like there's a drop off like you. This is C- for me. But not to worry.
I thought I would be worse than
I know.
I really thought you'd give him a B.
But really, I only do that because Kelsey's going to end up with half my team this year.
Right, you're going to end up trading away all your best players to her. So she's low now, but she's got a lot of room to grow into a champion. So okay, that's a C if you equal it out.
Yep.
So the defending champ starts at the C, which is probably a good place to be.
Probably a really positive
Not
sign.
trying to rhyme, but look at the time. Okay, moving along to the 5th pick, which was yours. Yeah, so that's the...
Well, I really like this team.
Yeah, I bet you do. Yeah, the 100 yards of Jamalitude.
So,
we'll have to work on that name. Yeah, but I guess I'll take the lead on this one.
Please do.
Okay. Russell Wilson as your quarterback. He's good. I think he went probably about where he should, which I don't know exactly which round, but he's not a top 10 guy to me. It's hard to say. There's a lot of good, maybe he is top 10. I don't know. I think he finished top 10 last year, but.
By the way, Russell Wilson selected in the 6th round.
6th round.
This is probably a good time to throw in as well. Our stat checker and factician is an intern, unpaid intern.
Yep.
So if any of these facts are wrong, you cannot hold us liable.
Right. Right.
So
plus, you're not paying for this or anything.
Absolutely.
This is So
I'll let you continue on.
Yeah. So anyway, look, not to get stuck on Russell Wilson too long. I've got mixed feelings about him. I've had him before. Had him last year in the league, and he did fine. He really that team made the playoffs that year, and there's just not a whole lot of upside. There's not a whole lot of downside either. To me, he's maybe the 10th best quarterback, which is fine. 16-team league, nothing wrong with that. So can't hate on that. That's a B, let's say, just for quarterback. Jamal Charles, stud as there ever was. He's just, no question. So Lamar Miller, I like it. A bit of a timeshare to me. I don't know that he has a, clear-cut role. And I don't like Miami for anything. There's not a guy in Miami that I love. So moving along, Julio Jones, great. Love it. Top 5 for sure. Top 3 potential. If he stays healthy, which I think he will. Keenan Allen, obviously you were really high on him, so was I. He's top 20 at worst, 20th being the bottom, so the floor just falls out.
Yeah.
And top 10 potential. So those are 2 great receivers. Zach Ertz is a very underrated tight end, being Philadelphia, and I think he'll surprise a lot of people. T.Y. Hilton as your flex. Yeah, I think he'll be helped by the fact that Reggie Wayne is back, and I think he's still going to be a bit of a whack-a-mole, to use a Matthew Berry term. I think he'll have his weeks where he catches, he has 140 yards, 2 touchdowns. He'll also have his weeks where he goes for 4 for 40, or 2 for 25. You just don't know when it's going to be. But I think he'll be a little bit better than he was last year even. And I think last year he was probably a top 20 guy. So, look, as a flex, that's great. Steelers defense, serviceable. Shane Graham has a leg. Michael Floyd, I love as a bench receiver. I love it. He could be equal to Fitzgerald. Last year he was really good, and,
Yeah, 1,000 yards receiving last year.
1,000 yards,
Hard to believe he broke that.
Yeah, so I think he actually out-received Fitzgerald.
I think so.
Fitzgerald gets all the coverage, always gets the top corner. Mm-hmm. I love Michael Floyd. He's a great plug-and-play. Now Davis, hey, you got to have your backup. You've covered your bases there in case Jamal Charles goes down. Ronnie Hillman, okay. We'll see if Moneyball is healthy. If Moneyball can't pass block, then he's not gonna. I see Ronnie Hillman getting some playing time. I see Ronnie Hillman as a 500 total yard. Running, receiving, maybe a few touchdowns he steals. So nothing wrong there.
He's a guy.
He's a guy, and if something happens to Ball, then he's the guy. Mm-hmm. So. Kelvin Benjamin, I love this choice. I love this pick. Got him really late. Carolina probably number 1 receiver. They gave away everyone else. Somebody's going to have to catch the ball. They will not be running the ball. The Panthers will not be running the ball every play.
Despite Jordan's thought that they might come out in a wishbone formation.
Which they could. Look, they
run the Nebraska offense.
Look, Cam Newton will run the ball for 500 yards. They've got Jonathan Stewart, Steele. They have D'Angelo Williams. And Mike Tolbert, who's going to vulture a few touchdowns. So that team is going to run the ball, but not every down.
Right.
They will at some point have to pass it. Teams will figure it out. Teams will start putting 10 men in the box and just putting one out deep just in case they just try to send someone.
Someone's got to catch a ball.
So that's got to be Kelvin Benjamin. Let's, high upside guy. Like it. And Jonathan Grimes, who's now Aaron Foster's backup.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very, very solid option as the last guy on your bench. Because let's face it, Foster hasn't been healthy in a few years.
Right.
So, and obviously I have Aaron Foster, so I hope you just end up dropping him and I'll just pick him up. So let's just hope for that. All in all, from top to bottom, this is a great team. The only real weakness to me is the RB2. I think you knew that with your draft strategy. You knew that'd be a weakness. Lamar Miller. But as far as, look, your RB2 is not the worst RB2 in the league, I don't think. So, that said, you got a lot of guys that if other guys go down, they're great. Until then, they're just taking a bench spot.
Yes.
So for me...
So, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I hate to do all the talking for your team, but I'm going to do it apparently. Then I'll let you talk, but I'm going to give it an A-.
Thanks. It's awesome. I did. I went in with this weird strategy we kind of talked about. I'm a running back guy. I've always taken running backs, and this year I really top into the wide receiver. So I think that's where the strengths ended up on this team, and you do see the hole there at running back too. Hopefully there's some good potential. I obviously like my team, but I'm only going to give myself a B+.
How brave of you.
Thanks. Yeah, that's very brave.
So why didn't you just give her a D just to even it out?
Yeah.
No, look, you have one of the top 2 or 3 receiving cores in the league, and you have a stud at your running back, at your RB1. So, yeah, even out that gives you an A-, I guess, because you gave a B+, I gave it an A-.
So that means I'm going to miss the playoffs this year.
You are definitely going to go like 4-10.
Awesome.
It's going to be really rough.
Yeah.
But,
sounds good.
Yeah, so that's moving along. So our next 6th team is the Dante's Inferno, which is Caleb. Why don't you take the lead since I did all the talking last time?
Yeah. Dante's Inferno. So Tom Brady at quarterback. Gotta love that guy. We think he's gonna have a bounce back year. Obviously Caleb does as well. Sitting on that is Adrian Peterson, number 1. Unarguably one of the best running backs in the NFL. Yep. And then Reggie Bush. Last year I loved this guy. I would have loved this pick. This year I'm really torn here. Splitting time with Joik Bell. I think this is gonna be
I agree with you on that one.
Or is it Jock?
It's actually Jacques Bell. Yeah. I didn't know this until about 6 months ago, but it's Jacques Bell, even though it looks like Joik or Joik or
Jacques Bell.
But yeah.
So actually, with their draft position, I think Jacques Bell was the better draft out of the two because
and I agree with you on that
same
one.
Guy.
Yeah.
The wide receiver position here, I think we looked at this and we like the wide receivers on this team, but you don't see a number 1. You got Kendall Wright, Danny Amendola, and Marcus Wheaton, who I love. On Pittsburgh is the number 2 guy there. He could have a really big year.
Absolutely.
But you just do not see a number 1 guy. I don't see a guy you plug in every week and he's going to get you that production.
And I think that's our big hang up with the team. You see studs you at least see one stud, and you see a bunch of guys that you love the upside. But yeah, there's no... Who are you trusting?
Right.
Other than Adrian Peterson, who are you trusting?
Yeah. This team's tough. I didn't mention Andrew Hawkins. Cleveland again. This is one of those jokes. They've got to throw the ball to someone, right? Outside of Jordan Cameron, someone's got to catch the ball there. With
Josh Gordon, if he could be there, but he won't actually be on the field, and they might still try to give him the ball.
He'll be hanging out, giving high fives.
Right.
But he can't catch the ball on the field. So
yeah.
So and then Doug Baldwin. Again, not a guy that either of us hate, but he's a guy.
No, he's their number 2 now.
Yeah.
And he could be, I think you were saying before we went on the air, but he could be the Golden Tate.
Yes.
I think he's more, he could be the Doug Baldwin of the Seahawks. They have Percy Harvin. If Percy's healthy, I don't think that hurts Baldwin. I think Baldwin could certainly be, I think he'll be a better version of himself than he was last year. But I don't see him being a stud of any kind, and that's not a team that throws the ball that much, but he's their number 2, and they have a good quarterback. So as far as it being deep on the bench, solid guy. If you get a number 2 receiver on a team that's top 15 offense, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I don't know if this was a strategy, but really you've got 5 guys who you don't know what you're going to get. You think they could all be good, so hopefully you get a diamond in the rough here.
Yeah,
Overall, we look tight end, solid. Jason Witten, flex, Steven Jackson. Both of us think this guy is glass, especially after your experience last year. So overall, for me, when you look at this entire team, there's some talent on it, but you've really got a lot of question marks. Don't know what you're going to get at the wide receiver. This is as solid a middle of the road C team as I can get.
Yeah, I think you're right on. I want to agree with you, a C, because Tom Brady, great. Adrian Peterson, as great as they get. But yeah, there's just too little that we can trust. So yeah, that's a C for me as well. So that's a C. Moving along to the 7th pick was the Gold Leader Tate. Still the name's pending change, but that's Charles. Okay, let's. So Tony Romo, where he went, I think it's a very good pickup. Tony Romo's always one of those guys, a little bit maybe undervalued, but he doesn't tend to stay that healthy.
Right.
So if he's healthy with that offense,
back of a 50-year-old,
the back of a guy who's at least 50, but still has a good arm, and look, they're going to be down a lot. Then we throw the ball, and we know this. That's maybe the worst offense in the league, worst defense. Excuse me. It's a top 10 offense.
He's got a ton of weapons.
A
great running game and a better line, so he'll be upright more often. Hopefully, less injuries for us Cowboys fans specifically. But yeah, we like that.
The one big downside is they lost Miles Austin. So who are we going to overrate at the beginning of the season?
I don't know.
So yeah, that's kind of rough. But no, I think they'll probably be better for it because that moves Williams into that number 2 and high upside guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like Romo's weapons. And Marshawn Lynch, look, I'm probably wrong on him. I'm probably wrong about this, but this could be the year he kind of takes a step back. I think the Seahawks are kind of feeling the same way. I think they want to try to give more time to other guys.
Yeah, with his holdout, you never like a guy who holds out.
No.
You don't. No. He doesn't come in shape. Everything I'm reading, says he's in the best shape ever and he's lost weight, but you hate a guy who held out. You hate a guy whose team didn't want to pay him more and now is looking for, like you said, to plug in the next generation of guy. So they're going to be looking to give those guys more time, which does mean his production could take a step back.
Right. That said, he could be 1,500 total yards and 13 touchdowns.
He's beast mode.
Right. He is. Skittles, beast mode, and we know what he can do. And
the best nicknames in the NFL.
Right. So you can't not trust him. I say I'm down on him. I'm down on him as far as he might be the 10th pick.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying this is the guy I wouldn't draft.
He goes from 3 to 7.
Right. So yeah, if it was my pick, I had the 9th pick and he was available, I probably would have taken him. So nothing wrong with him. He is still an A+ player. Just saying he might not quite be the same guy he's been the last 3 or 4 years.
The next guy is one of my favorites. Ever since Stanford, when they made that run, I mean, Toby Gerhart, he is a fun guy to watch run. Do not know what the actual talent level is there. Hasn't really gotten the time, but
when you back up Adrian Peterson,
absolutely massive upside here. This could be a steal where he fell to.
And I agree with that. And like Jacksonville does not. Well, they don't do much well at all on offense, but or defense for that matter. But
they're just not very good.
They're not very good. And
right.
Look, he might not get a whole lot of goal line carries, but somebody's going to be toting the rock, and they don't have anyone else.
Touchdowns.
Right. They score touchdowns, and I'd like to, from what we do see, from the flashes we did see when Adrian Peterson was out a few seasons ago, look, I hate to say he may be the best white guy running back in the league. I think he is,
I think so.
So yeah, love him. As an RB2, have no problem with it. Riley Cooper as your, wide receiver 1. Look, if something happens to Macklin, then it's really good. But I still don't see him as any more than, his top end maybe 15th, maybe. I'm trying to give him all the, he's a 20, 25, as far as ranking the wide receivers.
Yeah, you got to wonder if last year wasn't, kind of an anomaly where he wasn't figured out yet. They didn't know what the Eagles were going to do. That offense was still kind of a puzzle to everyone.
And you take out like the Oakland game.
Yeah, and I think defensive coordinators are going to figure this offense out a little bit.
Yep.
They're
going to. Not quite as prolific as they were last year. They lost Deshaun Jackson.
The hard thing to swallow on this one is that Riley Cooper is the keeper.
Yeah, and that's tough. So that makes him the 2nd round pick. Marcus Colston, I don't like him because I don't really like Colston, first of all, but Saints receivers, outside of Jimmy Graham, they're all kind of
You don't know what you're going to get.
You don't know what you're going to get.
This year you've got the breakout. Kenny Stills is still there, looking to break out.
Yep.
You got this new kid, Brandon Cooks, who, from everything we're reading and hearing, could be a stud. Right. So with all of that potential there, it's hard to see massive production out of Colston.
Colston, it's a bit like Deshaun Jackson. He'll just disappear. He can disappear for weeks at a time, and they don't have a great game. And you think, all right, he's back. He can get you 25 points, but then where does he go half the time? So yeah, Vernon Davis, he's great. He's a great tight end. That's a top 5 tight end. He may not be quite as good as last year, but I still really like him. Then he's got Kyle Rudolph. Now this is an interesting decision.
Taking advantage of the new rule change.
Yeah, the new rule change that allows tight ends to play as a flex as well as running backs and wide receivers. Kyle Rudolph, a lot of people are high on him. I don't love him, but I can't hate the idea.
It's really interesting.
It's interesting. I'm interested to see how it plays out. So we'll see what happens there. Cardinals defense is a great defense. They have a kicker. Kenny Stills, we talked about him. I like having him. It's just usually I don't like having multiple receivers, same team.
It's interesting what we just talked about. You're looking at both New Orleans receivers here. So when do you start one? When do you start the other? If you can play this game right all season, you're a genius.
But nobody can.
But yeah, that's
it. Doesn't happen. And at the end of the season, I like Stills more than Colston. I'm betting. End of the season, I would prefer to have Stills. Having your second quarterback, Josh McCown, backing up Tony Romo is not a bad call.
This actually makes sense here because, again, we talked about the injury concerns with Tony Romo's back.
Don't think he plays full 16 games. I hope he does. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood, all of that. But
duh, Cowboys. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Let's go, Tony.
So, yeah, McCown is a very serviceable backup quarterback. Malcolm Floyd, wide receiver number 2 with the Chargers. Not bad. Donnie Avery, wide receiver number 2. And then for the Chiefs, and then
we had to look this guy up.
Jerick McKinnon. Look, we both consider ourselves pretty knowledgeable at the NFL, but this was a new one to both of us. Will he be the backup? Do you think he's the number 2 in Minnesota?
It looks like it's a kind of a wide open backfield, so we don't know who's behind. It's a kid out of Georgia Southern apparently.
That's known as RBU. So
the pedigree from Georgia Southern, but really, if this is the handcuff to Adrian Peterson, then you like this pick late. If that backfield's still a mix-up and you don't know, maybe we don't. But it's hard to get in behind Adrian Peterson. But if he's down, they still run the ball. So maybe this is a genius pick.
Yeah, look, if he could be, Toby Gerhart, Toby Gerhart was on the Vikings,
If we miss the boat on Jerick McKinnon, we're going to be kicking ourselves next year.
He may be the keeper next year. Right. So, for me, I like a lot of the picks, top to bottom, not one of my favorites. I'm going to go B-.
I'm the same way. I think this is a good team, not a great team. Not as much upside as some of the teams we looked at. It's a B- for me.
All right, so that's a B-. So now we're getting to the middle part of the draft. We have Luke's team is next.
And this is crazy. Normally, the middle part of the draft, you don't see a lot of quality teams coming out of this. And I think when we looked over this earlier, I think 2 of the best teams actually come out of the middle.
I think we have a lot of the best teams coming out of the middle, and this is the 50 Shades of Forte, which probably may be the the clubhouse leader for the best team name so far. So everybody, who you're trailing right now.
It's a filthy team.
So you go ahead.
He got your guy, quarterback, Matt Ryan. I love this pick. Matt's got all the weapons back. Last year, what I thought he was going to be.
No, I agree with you.
It was just a stud. Number 5 upside.
Absolutely.
Wise. Yeah. But just a solid guy. Last year threw a lot of picks, but really you got to chalk some of that up to just everyone being injured.
When his best receiver was look at his name.
At Douglas.
Yeah, thank you. Harry Douglas was his number 1 option for multiple weeks, and he had the ageless.
And Tony Gonzalez.
Tony Gonzalez, thank you. It's getting late.
It
obviously.
Is.
Yeah, it doesn't have him this year, which is a little bit of a downgrade. But getting both Julio and Roddy back.
I'm here for you on this one.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm here for you on the Falcons roster.
I should stop talking because I'm clearly out of this. Yeah, no, Matt Ryan will have a huge bounce back year. Anyone who thinks otherwise, and look, he was still 15th best quarterback last year, which again, nothing write home about. But considering how much he lost during the season last year and how bad that offensive line was, they rebuilt the offensive line, a whole bunch of new guys, drafted some. Like I said, both receivers are back. Still have Harry Douglas, who's a good third option.
And he may get on the field more with Tony Gonzalez's security blanket gone.
Certainly.
They may be running more through wide receiver sets. So
at the worst, Matt Ryan is a 8th best quarterback, I'd say.
yeah, I think we both like, and we're gushing.
We're gushing
on the Falcons.
I have a major crush.
We made this mistake last year, but we are still Falcons fans somehow.
Yeah, they're not going to be what they were last year.
Right. So you follow that gush up with this next section of gushing, which is, really one of the best two running back 1, running back 2 combos.
Oh, absolutely.
There's some good ones out there. This is a really good one.
This may be the best one.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Matt Forte, top 4 running back. I really like him. Could be a top 2
He
guy.
catches so many balls, and there's no backup there anymore. There's no one vulturing.
He's consistent, and he hasn't had the injury problems that some of the guys at the top had, i.e.
He
Jamal
used
Charles.
to, but last year, no, he was Mr. Reliable.
So then you've got DeMarco Murray, Mr. Cowboy. I like him, but again, does he play 16 games?
If he can play 13 games, I like him.
Yeah.
He'll get you 1,200 total yards and 8 to 10 touchdowns. So that's for an RB2. That's fantastic.
So far, this team is really good.
We're loving this team so far. Let's keep going.
Randall Cobb, that's a guy you love. I like. I think that is a solid number 1, though. That offense is prolific.
Right. Look,
he's going to catch a ton of balls.
If he's healthy, and before he went down last year, he was top 10.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a small guy, but with Aaron Rodgers knows how to use a weapon. And he's got Jordy on the outside and Cobb over the middle and Cobb in the slot. You wouldn't think Cobb would get much work in the red zone because he's so small, but he does. He's shifty, he gets away, he's faster than he looks even at his size, and he's fast, don't get me wrong, but he's faster than he looks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love Cobb. I love him more than you do. If I could have Cobb and Ryan and if they had a baby, that would be my first pick.
I hear trade. I hear trade's coming.
Yeah, so this team may look different. My team may look different. We'll see. Torrey Smith, look, as a number 2, he's a number 1 in a lot of teams last year. Number 1 receiver. He's obviously the number 1 in Baltimore. They won't be as bad as they were last year, I don't imagine. Number 2, he's feast or famine, but he could be feast.
Agreed. You follow that up with Jordan Reed, who is probably maybe the end of that tier 1, tier 2 tight end group.
Yeah, tier 2 for
tier
sure.
2, yeah. I mean, tier 2, solid guy. That offense, again, neither of us are really sold on where the points are going to come from in that Washington offense.
But there's a lot of weapons.
There's a ton of weapons,
Yep.
and this guy is uber talented. And the next position, I think, I'll let you lead this one up, but I think we really like the flex here.
Yeah, this could be my favorite flex. It's hard to say. I'll have to look over, but Jacques Bell or Joique Bell if you prefer, but it's Jacques. He's boy. Look, he's gonna be to me the number 1 in Detroit before long. I don't think Reggie Bush, and you agree. He's obviously Reggie Bush last year, like we said earlier, a guy you love, but not this year. This is at least a timeshare, and Jacques Bell can do most of what Reggie Bush can do, but he does it on a bigger body, and he can take the carries through the middle. And we see Reggie Bush can do a little bit of that, but he can take more punishment, and he still can catch the ball. This is an offense that is obviously going to score a lot, and somebody's going to get the goal line carries, and it's going to be Bell. That's what we know. So yeah, as a flex behind Forte, behind DeMarco, this is a great running back 3. Even a wide receiver 3, he's great because he's going to catch 40 balls.
On my team, this guy plugs in as an RB2. This
Absolutely.
guy plugs in as an RB2.
On half the teams in the league is probably an RB2.
So to have this as your flex, this is a great pick. Gotta love some of the rest of the team too. He drafts Lovie Smith for his defense. He's obviously believing in the coach there.
Hey.
A kicker, he filled in that position, and then you follow that up with some running backs on his bench and Darren McFadden and Jonathan Stewart, who both could be starters, but are injury prone, and we don't know what they'll do.
I'm alright on them.
Yeah. So, but you've got that. He's got a little bit of fallback maybe in a bye week.
Yep. You can certainly McFadden at least.
Yeah.
Justin Hunter, I like him. He's got upside. If Jake Locker stays healthy, he could be the second wide receiver there. Tavon Austin, who's shown flashes. We talked about him last year. Obviously, didn't really pan out that much, but we'll see. He's got a lot of upside. And Miles Austin.
Thank goodness Miles Austin got drafted.
Yeah. So thank goodness Miles Austin's there. But he's Cleveland's 2-3. We'll see where he ends up being. What do you think? What are you giving this team?
I like this team. This is one of my favorite teams.
Yep.
So this is probably an A- for me. I just think they're good top to bottom.
Yeah, you think they're good. I think they're great top to bottom. Ryan Forte, Murray Cobb, Torrey Smith, Jordan Reed, Jacques Bell, Bucks defense. That's an A to me. That's an A. The bench, they're okay. It's not a great bench. It's not a bad bench. It's an okay bench.
Positivity. I like it.
That's an A. That's
So
an A for me.
team's getting an A.
They get an A. That's our first A, I believe.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, congrats to you, Luke. Now it's me. We're on to me now. It's the ninth pick. So I'll.
You want to talk about your team?
No, I'll defer to you on this one. But you better love me because I take it personally.
So we start out with Colin Kaepernick, who you accidentally drafted, but I think this is a great pick. I mean, you might have been looking at Matt Ryan here, but Colin Kaepernick has just got so much talent around him, and they have just barely scratched the potential of his ability to throw the ball. With the injuries they had last year, he didn't throw the ball as much. He burned me in one of my leagues, but he still ended up as a top 10 quarterback. He's going to rush the ball. He's going to throw the ball with all the weapons. That's a bold statement. That's very John Madden. He's going to rush the ball. He's going to throw the ball.
There's the kind of guy who can pass the ball, and if need be, he can run.
He can also run the ball.
He's got 2 legs.
So I really love that pick. I don't know how sold you are on it, but I love that pick at quarterback. I think you got another, again, that tier right there, one of the last guys in that tier. Follow that up with 2 running backs who are studs. Both have the same concern, some injury potential, with Arian Foster and Le'Veon Bell. Both, in offenses that love to run, coaches that love to run, stud running backs. That is a great group of backs, but you have to be concerned about their health long term.
Absolutely.
But you did a good thing. You immediately got in your flex right now, Andre Ellington. So depending on how that goes, he could plug into one of your running spots. I love Andre Ellington this year. I know a lot of people are high on him, but we saw him flash potential last year that looked like running back number 1, and it was one of those things like Gio Bernard where you're like, please just give that guy the ball more.
Right.
Please just keep feeding him the rock. So, and they're going to do that this year, and I think he's got massive potential, and for him to be sitting in your flex is really, really a great thing for you. I'm just going to talk about the running backs on your bench real quick. Mike James, you've got a backup there. Again, if something goes wrong in Tampa Bay, and then Lance Dunbar. Not only is he a Cowboy, so I love him, but he is sitting behind a running back who could get injured. So that's a guy who really plugs in well for your team. So love the running back situation there. Then you go to your wide receivers. Wes Welker, I am not as high on Wes anymore. I think he's kind of reached the tail end of his career. We've seen what he was at as his potential. But he's still in the most prolific offense in the NFL, and he's still going to catch a bunch of balls. And if he starts off like he did at the beginning of last season, he's going to catch a bunch of touchdowns because that's who Peyton likes to look at in the red zone. Even though he's got a bunch of huge, tall guys in Demaryius Thomas and Julius Thomas, he loves that underneath route to Wes Welker, diving in for the touchdown. So I'm not sold on Wes, but it's a good pick. Jeremy Maclin, I think this is stud breakout potential again. Look what he did with Deshaun Jackson. Look what this offense did for Deshaun Jackson last year. I think Jeremy Maclin is a better receiver in this offense, and I think he's going to have a great year. We followed up Delaney Walker. This is a guy with massive potential. We've heard a lot about him over the last couple of years. Really show me what you can do, though. We haven't seen the production in the points. Browns defense, you picked them right before I did. I think that defense is going to be good this year. Philadelphia kicker, that's a good offense. And then your bench wide receivers, actually, is a kind of interesting story here. So you've got Cecil Shorts, who's the number 1 in Jacksonville, and we joked earlier they don't do a lot of things great, but they do things.
You have to actually do something.
Right.
The NFL requires that. There'll be some huge penalty if you're not actually trying.
Yes, you have to put uniforms on a team, and you have to send
them
out
all
on
paid
the field,
to be out there,
and they have
you
to
will
do
be.
things.
You will have the ball sometimes.
Yes, and Cecil Shorts is going to be one of those guys who will have the ball.
Right.
So the potential for points there is really good. James Jones, even though they've kind of been messing with where he is on the roster depth chart wise, it's really just Oakland sending him the message. He is going to be the number 1 there when the season opens. We saw what he did in Green Bay. Let's see what he can do as the number 1, but that's a great wide receiver to have on your bench. And then Brandon Cooks, this guy, we were talking a little bit about him earlier. He could be the breakout. I mean, if you like Kenny Stills, this kid could be the actual breakout in New Orleans this year. Everything you're hearing about him is he is blowing the top off defenses. He's making crazy catches in training camp. And again, it's preseason, it's training camp, but those are good things to hear from a team where they're impressed with a wide receiver and they throw the ball a ton. So I'm sure you liked the pick. I really love this pick. This was one of my guys. I like this team. This team is a solid team to me. I don't know that they break into the top echelon immediately. So for me, it's a B+.
Yeah, no, I kind of completely agree with you. It's hard to take myself out of it, but yeah, I think, look, if it's a healthy team, if the running backs are healthy, this is definitely one of the most loaded teams in the league. If not, look, there's a lot of depth at wide receiver, which is good, but not so much depth at running back of the top three. So that that's the big question mark. And yeah, I don't think Kaepernick is. Yeah, he may have been my first choice at that point, but I took him anyway. But he absolutely has top 5 upside, and he won't be bad. That's what we know for sure. And he will play every game.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I think this is it's probably a B. B+, so works out to a B+.
B+.
So yeah, happy with that. Let's move on to Molly's team.
The auto draft.
Yeah, the auto draft. Interesting team. So let's just start off with the good. Aaron Rodgers is, of course, the top keeper, stud. At worst, the third best quarterback in the league.
Agreed.
So there's the big problem. That's he's no Peyton Manning last year. He might only throw 30 touchdowns, and he might only throw for 4,500 yards. So
he might only drag us to the Super Bowl.
So right. So we get past that. You got Stephen Ridley and Fred Jackson as your starting running backs. Now, this is a big problem spot because
Molly, ESPN did not do you any favors.
No, and this is obviously right. This is not the problem of the owner. We regretfully that the owner was not here to pick for themselves. Stephen Ridley could be the guy in New England. Shane Green is there.
Maybe we were 1 year wrong.
Maybe we were 1 year wrong, and he wasn't bad last year. He was just he was one of those guys. Look, and he wasn't healthy all the time. And when Shane Green was healthy, he definitely took a drop back because he doesn't catch that many passes, and he has a fumbling problem of it. And you know how the Patriots are with that. Look, Ridley, he could easily be what he was supposed to be last year this year. So he could get you 900 yards and 8 touchdowns. If so, he's a very serviceable RB2.
Mm-hmm. Bill Belichick could also bench him in week 2.
Right. We just don't know. Fred Jackson, the ageless wonder at 32, 44. I don't know his age now, but
How does he keep being so relevant every year?
He is the best. He's not even a vulture. I hate to say call him a vulture. He gets yards. It is a pure time split with C.J. Spiller, and I don't think this is changing. I think he'll end up with more touchdowns over the course of the season than C.J. Spiller. He'll probably have a few less yards. I think the Buffalo may have drafted a guy. I think they do have a third guy now.
They got the guy from Philadelphia, Bryce Brown.
They have Bryce Brown. So, that may cut into both he and Spiller, both Jackson and Spiller. As a flex, I like Jackson. As an RB2, I'm okay. I would not count on him.
Right.
Wide receivers, Pierre Garçon, at best he's what he was last year, I think.
Right. I think we're both a little bit down on these Washington receivers because we feel like they eat into each other's production. You've got 2 really good wide receivers.
Right. Washington did not have a good number 2 llast year, and they have a good number 2 this year in Deshaun Jackson. So Pierre, like I said, he could be what he was last year.
Right.
Which is top 15-ish, and I mean 15, I don't mean higher than that. I don't.
Right.
Could be wrong, but I don't see him approaching the top 10.
Agreed.
Andre Johnson, Andre Johnson, again, I think he's a very, very good guy. He's not worse than 20, and he's not better than 8. So he's somewhere in that middle. I think he's 12 to 15 probably. He won't score that often, not at this point in his career, and he doesn't have quite as many chances as he does. And they have like we talked about earlier, Hopkins is a very, very good number 2, and he could actually be his equal.
Yeah, and who knows what that quarterback situation is going to play out to be.
Yeah.
And again, another camp holdout guy, and I don't love those situations. where you're not sure about how happy they are.
He could be
with
on
the
another team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then. So, it's a kind of a wait and see on Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
He will certainly be startable. I'm not saying he won't be.
Yeah.
If you have Andre Johnson, unless you have studs, unless you have, say, Luke's team,
Right.
you're going to, or some of the other team, you're going to start him. That's no question.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying
wide
he's
receiver
not
2, he's
what he
gonna start.
was 5 years ago,
Agreed.
3 years ago. Colby Fleener, okay, very good tight end, nothing spectacular. They have several tight ends. They don't use them all that much. We'll see. Roddy White. Now, I love this flex.
Right.
And you do too.
Yeah, this is the second best part of this team for me. Is this flex
Yeah, it might
position?
well be,
I think Roddy, other than the quarterback, Roddy White is a solid guy, especially if you're plugging him in your flex spot.
And you got him in the 4th round.
Yeah.
It's a steal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's going to be back. Anybody who doubts that, look, and by the way, I've been watching Hard Knocks. It's the Falcons this year. Roddy looks like Roddy. And I've always loved Roddy White. I want him on my team. You should trade him to me, Molly.
that team just gave him a big extension.
Yeah.
They're paying him, and they're not going to do that with a guy they don't believe in.
No.
So the team believes in him. We believe in him. This is awesome, Molly.
Yeah. This
may be your number one wide receiver.
Right. So that's great. Rams defense, it's a stud defense. Love it. Lots of sacks. They have a kicker, Darren Sproles, who I really like off the bench.
Sure.
Sean Green, a solid bench guy. Don't love him, don't hate him.
He's a guy.
He's a guy. Donald Brown, San Diego running back. The third guy. We'll see. He probably does vulture. I imagine that he will.
Hard to find out when to start him, though.
Right.
Right.
That's the
Unless
hard thing.
there's an injury.
Yeah.
Hard to
If
figure out
something
where to start him.
happens to Ryan Matthews, then I do like him.
Yes.
Roy Halou.
This is a good late pick because it's hard. I mean, Alfred Morris is so steady and so productive and hasn't had injury problems that you never really think Roy Halou. But he is the backup there, and he's the change of pace third down guy.
Yeah, and look, that's the thing. He is the third down back.
Mm-hmm.
Alfred Morris does not catch the football. And I'll be honest, as a pure player, I love Roy Halou.
Talented.
Look, before Alfred Morris broke out 2 seasons ago, I loved it. I thought Roy Halou was the guy. I thought he was the guy in Washington. He still is that guy. He's not stopped being that guy. Yeah, he's going to get playtime. He's going to catch some balls, and he'll vulture a little bit. He had a couple games last year where he was a big-time vulture. As a bench guy, as a backup, I love it.
Yeah.
And then Carson Palmer, look.
You got Aaron Rodgers.
But, Aaron Rodgers did miss games.
Yeah. It's hard. Again, we talked about this a little earlier. In this short bench league, and it's really hard for me to see the value in 2 quarterbacks unless you have one of those situations, with a Robert Griffin or Tony Romo, where you really think there's a strong injury potential. Again, most of these teams have proven me wrong. Who am I to say?
As a bye-week filler, Carson is pretty good.
It's a great fill-in quarterback.
Okay, I'm thinking, look, like you said, Roddy White's great as a flex, and Aaron Rodgers is a stud. But other than that, and the wide receivers, they're a B group altogether. Do not like the running backs. Bench is okay.
Say it.
It's a C- for me.
C-?
C-.
Yeah. For me, this is my first D.
Ooh.
This is my D team. I don't like the running back situation at all. Nothing special at tight end, and the bench is rocky for me. So
yeah.
That's my first one.
That's rough. Yeah, but that's I guess that's a D+ when you add it together.
D+.
Ooh. Again, it was an auto draft team, and that's what the auto draft does. It treats your team like garbage and gives you that back. So that's a D+ for Molly. Next, the 11th pick is Aaron's team.
How many teams are in this league?
16. We're at 16 now.
Wow.
Yeah. So still a whiles to go. If you're hanging with us through this whole thing, we've already gone through your team. We really appreciate that. I don't know why you're hanging on. That's bold of you.
If we haven't got to your team yet, just fast forward to where you were drafting.
Right. It's not a mystery. If you had Jordan, if you're listening, you have the 16th pick. Just go to the last 5-10 minutes, and then you'll know where you are. You want to take the lead?
What team is this? Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. No, this is east of Whedon. Pretty good
East
team
of
name.
Whedon.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, we'll take the lead. Stud quarterback, Drew Brees. Love this guy. Can't say anything bad about that offense. They throw the ball a ton. He's going to score a ton of points. The next group, my favorite group of people on the team, the running backs. Frank Gore.
This year, even this year.
It's still my favorite position, even though I turned the strategy on its head. Frank Gore and Danny Woodhead at this position. So Frank Gore, again, one of those guys we joke, kind of an ageless wonder. You keep thinking, when is he going to fall off? When is he going to fall off? When is he going to fall off? And he just doesn't do it. So this is a pretty solid guy. I like him more as an RB2. So I don't see the RB1 on this team. I think you and I have maybe a different opinion on Danny Woodhead. I really like him. If this was a PPR league, I would love this pick.
Absolutely.
But watching how they use him in the offense, he's a Darren Sproles-esque, maybe not talent, but usage.
Yeah. Look, I don't think he's Darren. I think he's Sproles' caliber, but I think he's certainly serviceable. I don't know if the Chargers use him quite as well as the Patriots did, even though they had a deep backfield with the Patriots. But yeah, he's a change of pace a bit from Ryan Matthews. Ryan Matthews does catch some passes, which kind of takes away from Danny Woodhead's value. But yeah, he's good. Look, he's going to get a lot of total yards at the end of the season, and he will have some touchdowns, especially receiving touchdowns. But as a RB2, no, he's a flex at best for me. Yeah. I think he's a partial flex. I'm not going to play him every week in my flex.
That's probably a good analysis of that. The next position on this team is, I really like the wide receivers, but I would call this the funnest wide receiver group.
Yep.
You don't know if either of these guys, Cordell Patterson and Percy Harvin, are going to be studs, but massive potential, massive upside.
Top 10 for both upside.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, Cordell, from what little we saw last year and from what everybody says this offseason, he is a stud, and he sure looks like one. But does Minnesota use him correctly? They had Percy Harvin before they had Cordell, and it's the same kind of guy. Like you're saying, they use Percy pretty well sometimes, but other times he would disappear. But if they use him, and really he is their second offensive weapon after A.J. Peterson, and just like everyone else, they've got to score, they got to produce. He could be a 1,000-yard, 10-touchdown guy. Yeah. And he could get some rushing yards too.
Absolutely. This is a fun group. Percy Harvin, coming back from the injury, super talented. Yeah, Seattle's going to use him, right?
He's the number one.
Right, and you know that's a creative offense. His big question mark is, how long has it been since he played a full season?
And he's got the concussion issues.
Right.
Same kind of thing Wes Welker has, a few other guys. You hope, just for getting fantasy value for his career, and for his personal health, that nothing happens, that he doesn't take another shot to the head like that. But you can't count on it not happening. Once you start getting concussed, it's
tough.
It's tough. You don't know. So let's hope he stays healthy. Let's hope he's able to play 16 games. And if he is a stud.
So the next guy, Marty B. Martellus Bennett.
And where he was drafted, and I'll look that up. You talk about him.
Yeah, he's drafted really high. Matt's going to check that out, but I've never been high on Martellus Bennett. Maybe that's because he played for the Cowboys forever, and I saw him underachieve for years. Maybe it's because he played at A&M, and I'm not a huge Aggies fan. But for me, Martellus Bennett is a guy who has always had that. He's a big guy, big body, talented, can't catch the ball. That's an issue for me. A bit of an issue. Yeah, when your issue is, when your job is to catch the ball. So, problem with his hands, I think that's gotten better. He's also in an offense, though, with some other weapons. Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey are the big targets in that offense.
Matt Forte is the third option.
Absolutely. So, it's hard to see his production, but, this is one of those guys where he's in a good offense with a good quarterback. If he's taking care of some of those hands issues, he could be a great tight end. I just don't personally see it.
Yeah, and I see 50 catches from him on the year, which is, fine. Maybe 5 touchdowns. Look, let's do a little bit of a look back at the draft. So he was he's a 5th-round pick. Marty B was a 5th-round pick, which, to be blunt, was a stupidly high place to take him. That's my opinion. Look, could be wrong. Mm-hmm. Could be wrong about any of this.
We agree.
We will say often. Early and often, we are probably wrong about everything
Most
we're
likely
predicting right
wrong.
now. So, but a few of the guys drafted after him. Jordan Cameron, 6th round.
Oh,
Dennis Pitta, don't love, but I actually like him at least equally to Marty B. I think he's got better hands. Greg Olson, I like more. He was also a 6th rounder. In the 7th round, you could have had Jordan Reed, who I think we both like more.
yes.
Kyle Rudolph went later, and Zach Ertz, who you drafted in the 8th round. 3 rounds later, you can get a guy like Zach Ertz. I just don't see it. I would rather wait. And at that point, I would rather wait. Give me a 10th round guy.
Yeah, and even not looking at tight ends, there are, there are starting quarterbacks drafted right after. There's starting running back. Bishop Sankey and Mike Renata is a starting running back drafted right after him. So I think there was some more talent there. I think there was some talent left on the board.
Yeah, obviously you can't say quarterbacks because he has Breeze, but yeah, he could have gotten another running back, a position of need. He could have taken that. So okay, we obviously we're not big fans of Martellus.
It's a good catch.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't need to follow Breeze up with Tony Romo.
Right, but looking at the rest, Greg Jennings as a flex, not bad. I don't love that he has both Jennings and Cordarrelle. I don't. I said this offline earlier. I think that there's not going to be a week where both of them are scoring. You're going to get, one of them will have 15 and the other one will have a 3. Or maybe one has a 10, the other has a 5. But, Greg Jennings to me is not high upset on this offense because they can't really get him the ball, and I don't think he's even the Greg Jennings he was 3 years ago. And remember, he played with Aaron Rodgers. And before that, he played with Brett Favre a little bit. But, he's always had a stud quarterback, and he doesn't have it. At least not yet.
And it's shown.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
So last year was a huge drop off from where he had been. He wasn't even, a top 30 receiver, and I think that's where he can be. I think he'd be the 30th best receiver this year. So, it's okay. It's an all right flex. If you look beyond him, Ruben Randall, who I like more, that may be a better flex. The Giants, maybe he's their number 2.
Hey, Heath Miller could have a great year. You got him.
Look, and that's not a bad backup tight end, dude.
So, and remembering our new rule, that could be a flex.
You could certainly play him,
sure.
yeah. If you want to take that risk, more power to you. Jerko Cotchery, look, he's the number 2 in Carolina, maybe the number 1.
Mm-hmm.
If things fall right. He was always serviceable with the Steelers and the Jets before that, but we'll see what happens with Carolina. Cole Beasley, number 3 in Dallas, don't love, but if anything happens to Dez or anything happens to Williams, then you have potential.
Mm-hmm.
He's obviously got some upside. And then Michael Vick, which I don't know why you would need that. Drew Brees is not going to miss time. Drew Brees is playing. He'll be there 16 or 17 weeks.
You thought my quarterback suggestion was weird, but knowing they were going to take one late, maybe you like it now.
Maybe I like it a little more, but I don't know. I don't get the Michael Vick choice. Look, some high-end potential, like you said, with the receivers. I love the top 2, and they can easily, both be studs. And Drew Brees is obviously a stud. He's a top 3 quarterback. And he's not dropping off. Frank Gore, very good, but there's a lot of ifs and a lot of, guys that you just have to hope something happens to other guys. And I don't like that. And I don't like guys like that as starters, especially. So, yeah, for me, this is C+, because there's a lot of good talent, but not, studs.
Yeah, so for me, you can't be great at every position, but you can be good at every position, and I just felt like this team could have been better at certain places where it was drafting. So for me, it's a C.
All right, yeah, I think that's very fair. It's a middle of the road kind of team, is the way it looks. I think some weeks will be great, some weeks they'll be,
right.
So yeah, that's a C+ when you average it out. Next, now this is a team I know we both love. This is a horse and his McCoy, which is Josh Mackey's team. You want to take the lead?
Yeah, so this is, when I started looking through the teams, this is my preseason pick, which is probably, an ill-fated title.
So, Josh, we're so sorry about that.
Sorry, but this is probably my
news.
preseason pick for best team in the league.
Yep.
Early horse for the champion. A lot of stuff's going to change, but I love this team. So I won't start the gushing at quarterback. I'm going to insult your quarterback to start off with. Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle. Not a guy I love, but he is a good quarterback. He's going to put up numbers. He's very consistent in that he will score a lot of points total throughout the year, but week to week, not always consistent.
Right. Look, he's one of those guys, and even you signed this new contract in the offseason. Everybody has an opinion about the Ginger Man, about Red Rifle. Yeah, he's very up and down. He'll have amazing games. He'll throw 4 touchdowns and 300 yards, and then he will throw 3 picks and 190 yards and no touchdowns. So you don't know what you're going to get. But that said, he was the 4th best quarterback last year. He was better than Cam Newton. He was better than a lot of guys that are going a lot higher than he is. So, I think his ceiling is a little bit lower than it was last year. I think we had some injuries at quarterback that kind of maybe would have bumped it down a few spots. I think 7, 8 is the ceiling as far as quarterback points, and then 12th is his floor. It's an offense that scores, and he lost some weapons. He's going to have some injuries, but you still have A.J. Green, you have Gio Bernard. He's fine.
So then we get into the meat of this team, which is another one of those 1-2 running back punches.
Oh yeah.
And LaShawn McCoy, who I think is the number 1 pick in the draft.
He's certainly top 3.
I have
no
Jamal
question
Charles. I think LaShawn McCoy this year is amazing in that offense. Is going to produce.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then Zach Stacy, who's another guy I really really like, a young guy who's going to produce in that offense. And if Sam Bradford's healthy, maybe they don't run the ball as much, but they also can't key in as much on Zach Stacy.
Yeah, look, I'm not the biggest fan of Zach Stacy because he does not catch the ball, and you know how I feel about running backs who catch the ball. Obviously this isn't PPR, so it doesn't affect him quite as much, but he's clear-cut number 1. They're going to give him the rock. He's going to get at least 20 touches a game, and they're going to be running the ball, and a great offensive line. So as far as an RB2, he's an RB1 on some teams. An RB2, I love him. I adore him as an RB2. So we'll see what he gets as a full year as being the guy with a good offensive line, and let's see if Sam Bradford can actually be a player in the NFL.
Absolutely.
Help him out.
It's a huge question for him. So, and then to follow that up, not to skip to the flex, but he's got Bishop Sankey in the flex as well, who I'm high on this year. Some people aren't as high on, but that is a guy who's going to be, he's the number 1 running back in Tennessee. It's probably an RB2, RB3, depending on who you are. So to have that guy in your flex, I think, as another guy, when you look at that group of running backs, this is a really, really solid position for him.
Yeah, like I said before, I'm not as high on Sankey as you are. With rookies, I'm always show me. I'm the same way with guys who are just getting their first year. As the guy, I need to see something before I can buy into you. A lot of good notes coming out of his camp. He's the starter, sort of.
He's the starter, so that's okay. We disagree. I just think,
but as a flex, I don't mind it.
Flex,
no,
right.
As a number 2, I would hate it. As a flex, I don't mind. His receivers, I like a lot. Vincent Jackson, not my favorite, but he will produce, and he will have great games, and he'll have okay games. He'll have a few stinkers in there. But at the end of the season, he's going to be a top 15 receiver.
Just a stinker, too.
He's got a few stinkers in there, and they're going to be better at quarterback.
Agreed. Michael Crabtree is the guy I think we both really like. Massive potential. Everything you look at is if you took his stats from when he was healthy and prorate those out to a 16-game season, he is a top 10 wide receiver. Almost a top 5 guy, something like 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns. But that's the question: is can he stay healthy?
Yeah, if he can, he could be a wide receiver 1, absolutely. And I think he will be healthy. I really believe in him, and he's the number 1 receiving option on the offense. Again, not the most pass happy offense, but
Richard Sherman doesn't believe in him, but we do.
Right, Richard Sherman is not his biggest fan. But look, other than the 2 weeks against Seattle, I love Crabtree.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't start him against Seattle.
Right. So, or maybe do it. Maybe he's going to, I don't know, it could be fun.
Maybe.
Look, you go Mike Evans as your first receiver off the bench if you want to say he's the first, but I love him. Absolutely. I think, look, it's hard to say with rookie wide receivers, especially more so than rookie running backs, because usually it takes him a couple years. But he was a stud at A&M. He could catch everything thrown his way, and he's a big body. That's the thing. He's big and he's fast, and he's got breakaway speed. And look, he's going to be lined up against Vincent Jackson, which is interesting because it's the same team. I don't know that you can really start both of them. That's the first time I'm really noticing that. So, on this team, maybe I don't love having Mike Evans and Vincent Jackson, but I love Mike Evans separate from Vincent Jackson.
Sure. Yeah. No, I really like this pick too. Again, having both Tampa Bay wide receivers maybe isn't the best thing, but if that offense is good and if, Mike Evans is the guy we think he is, then I still like him because that's a guy you probably plug into your flex, not into your wide receiver 1 or 2 spot.
Right. And he could certainly grow into it.
Yeah. So a tight end is a strength on this team too. When you first look at this team, you see Dennis Pitta, who I think is going to have a massive bounce back year in Baltimore and is going to be a great tight end, a really high producing tight end. And you follow that up on his bench with Ladarius Green in San Diego, who is Antonio Gates is getting older. They're going to start injecting this guy. Everything I'm reading is saying that he is in starting with the ones, and he's in on every passing down. Even if not at the tight end, they're putting him in the slot or wide receiver 3 positions. So I think this tight end group is just amazing.
Yeah. Pitta is one of those great, steady kind of guys. But I think, maybe from week 1, I think Green may be end up being the starter on this team. Just because, look, San Diego runs a lot of 2 tight end sets. Philip Rivers loves tight ends. And, like you said, Antonio Gates is not going to be there forever. He's not going to be that guy forever. He's obviously not the same guy he used to be. And Green is that same kind of body. And he had some great weeks last year. And that was with Antonio Gates out there. And, again, he'll be there again. But it's going to be, if you want to call it a timeshare at the 1 for the 2 of them, yeah, I think he's a guy who certainly has 600 yards, 6-7 touchdowns, kind of as his low point. I think he could be great.
Outside of Jimmy Graham and Gronk, this is my favorite tight end group.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Brian Hartline coming off the bench, I think is a really solid wide receiver 4. If he's a wide receiver 4 on your team, most teams he'd be the 3rd guy. He'll get 80, 90 catches this season. And he's done 1. Even if you want to argue for Mike Wallace, I still think it's Hartline. I think he runs better routes, and he's more likely to be the guy that whoever ends up quarterbacking for Miami. I think it's still A&M.
Tannehill.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And Tannehill's got an arm, but we'll see. I don't love that situation, but I think Brian Hartline's pretty steady. He'll get 5 catches a week. Mm-hmm. And, some weeks will be great, some will just be okay, but he's going to be okay. Eli Manning is the backup quarterback. I think we both really like this.
Yeah, this is one of those positions where I think this was a necessity. If you're not sold on Dalton or you don't know he's going to have up and down weeks, you're really playing the matchups. Eli Manning's a guy who is looking to have a bounce-back season, a really steady guy, and I think having him there to plug in on weeks you don't think Dalton's going to have a good week is a necessity and a great move.
Yeah, and Eli's going to be better than he was last year. And, at worst, he's a plug-and-play. So you're not going to, you can't suffer too much. And Andy will be pretty serviceable, and Eli will be too, so that's good. And then Jeremy Curley is the last guy. He's got, if he was on a team, is he on the Packers or the Patriots or the Broncos, I would love this guy. But he's on the Jets. And the Jets have never been able to figure out offense. So
they're not good at it.
Look, if you can pick the right weeks, you could be good. But he usually will not be that guy.
Absolutely. So I think that's the one position. Again, I don't think there's a player on this team we didn't like, even at the skills. I think we both liked this team a lot, and for me, this team is an A.
Yeah, I can't disagree. I think. A 1-2 punch is hard to beat at running back, and a 1-2-3 punch at receiver that even 4, maybe the deepest, as far as top 4 receivers in the league. And then Bishop Sankey is a very serviceable flex. Bills defense, I don't see a weakness. if you want to say Andy Dalton's a weakness, and that's their weakness, I'm okay with that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, this is an A for me as well. So an A for Josh. Again, like we said
There's
before.
the kiss of death.
Yeah, so, we apologize, Josh, for ruining your season. It seems like I'm always high on Josh's team in the draft, and then, injuries happen and just
doesn't end up quite as well.
Yeah, so.
Well,
again,
Josh, another season.
Yeah, hey, always next year. Try to draft worse. All right, let's move on to Eric, who was the team that still needs to be changed. Tom Solo, Ray Ricewalker from last year, picking with the 13th pick in the draft. What do you think?
It's another one of those teams that I'm not high on. The top players in their positions. I'm not as high on Nick Foles. I know that's his keeper. Nick Foles has a lot of potential to be awesome, but everything I'm hearing is he's taking a step back this season. And then, transitioning right into the running backs, Ben Tate and Chris Ivory. Ben Tate is a guy. He is a starter. He had talent in Houston, but he's in Cleveland now, and there's a guy right behind him who is ultra talented too. And Chris Ivory is in a timeshare in New York, and again, he's on the Jets, who are not very good at offense, as you said.
Yeah, I one of the guys that I would not want on my team. I do not want Chris Ivory. I want nothing to do with the Jets backfield. And Ben Tate, look, he certainly had his weeks and his moments in Houston, but Houston is an offense built to run.
Yeah, gap running scheme, one cut, get up there.
Exactly.
He was good at that.
And
Cleveland
he was pretty
is
good.
Not that.
But that said, there's a reason when Foster was healthy that Ben Tate was getting at most 5 carries a game. He's not Arian Foster. And obviously that's not fair because Arian Foster, when he's healthy, is a top 5 running back in the NFL. But Ben Tate is not that. He's a poor man's Foster, sort of. He doesn't have quite that one cut, good juke move. He's not quite as bruising. And yeah, he's got somebody right on his tail, but I think he will be 800 yards, this season. And I think that, and maybe I'm being too harsh on him. Maybe he'll be 1,000 yards, and he can catch the ball,
But he's also injured. He gets those tiny
He
injuries.
does get those. He gets nicked up a lot. He has rib issues. So we'll see. Not a great running back, either one. And on the bench at running back, Noshawn Moreno,
Yeah, this could be the smart pick. I have Lamar Miller, so he could. If he's right, my pick's terrible. If I'm right, this pick's terrible. So.
Everyone loved Monte Ball last year and hated Noshawn Moreno. Saw what happened. Noshawn was a stud, but he went to a much, much, much worse offense. One of the worst offenses in the league, I would say, in Miami. And yeah, it's a timeshare, at least at face value. So, okay, I maybe like him more than Chris Ivory. Honestly, I think I do. And then Jordan Todman, Jacksonville running back. Another guy that we'll have to see. Another, if he's a guy. He's a what-if guy. And then Kadeem Carey.
This is the other guy we had to
the other guy we had to really look up. Yeah, I got no feelings on him. I don't, maybe he gets some playing time behind Forte if Forte gets hurt. Otherwise, he's not seeing the field. And sorry, I forgot to mention D'Angelo Williams is also on this team, who I like more. He's probably the RB2. And we all know Noshawn. We all know D'Angelo is good. He's going to get you 800 yards, maybe a couple hundred receiving, 5 touchdowns. Newton ends up stealing a lot in the goal line, and then so does Tolbert. And then Jonathan Stewart is still there for like the 30th straight year. I don't want him on my team. I want him as my 5th running back, is what I should say. I want him as my 5th running back. But if he's...
I want to be able to plug him in 1 week when my guy's out, something like that. But yeah.
Yeah, but so this is it's a pretty deep running back core, but none of them stand out. Ben Tate being far and away the best one, and that's a problem. But that said, we both love the receivers.
Yes, this next group, love at least the top. Demaryius Thomas is a stud. Like I want him on my team. I'd take him in any league. So that guy's in a great offense, and he is.
Even if he was on a different team, different quarterback, he's still a top 10 receiver for sure, no question.
Yeah, I agree. Deshaun Jackson, this is one we talked a little bit about. We like Deshaun Jackson, but neither of us are sure what's going to happen in Washington. We don't know if Pierre Garçon or Deshaun Jackson is the guy. So this one, you like Deshaun Jackson. The uncertainty I don't like, but he could he could be a great wide receiver too. Could also be a wide receiver 3, even lower than that, depending. So I don't like the floor being so low.
Yeah, look, Deshaun has always been one of those guys that you just can't. You'll love to hate, and you hate to love. I mean, he'll have the weeks. He'll certainly have the weeks, but he'll also just disappear for weeks at a time. So, and I think he's probably going to an offense that won't use him quite the same as he was last year. I think last year we saw what his ceiling was a bit, which is probably maybe 10, 12 as far as ranking on wide receiver, and his floor 20, 25. I just don't love the guys that I can't trust.
Mm-hmm.
And he's one of those guys. But Emmanuel Sanders is the flex. Emmanuel Sanders is going to Denver. He's probably taking over a little bit of what Decker did last year, and Decker was amazing. He's not Decker, let's be clear. Sanders has always been serviceable, and he was pretty good last year. He'll probably get 800-900 yards this year, and he'll probably see 5-6 touchdowns. I don't know. It could be more. As a flex, that's not bad.
Yeah, so I think, what you said is right. We like the wide receivers here. Don't love them. On your bench, you've got Steve Smith, which, again, is a guy.
He's a guy. He is definitely a guy.
He's a guy.
I checked. I gave him his physical this year.
Googled it.
He is a guy. Yep.
But there's not a lot of depth.
No.
So, Emmanuel Sanders, maybe he's your 2, maybe Deshaun, maybe those are interchangeable. But there's not a lot of depth after that. It's really those 3 guys, and then.
But if you give me that roster of 4, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'm not unhappy.
Yeah.
I'm not unhappy.
Yeah, that's probably a B plus at most.
Like the receivers.
Yeah.
Tight end Charles Clay. We've been saying this about a few guys, but this is another one of those guys where show me. Everyone talks about this guy's talent. You see it. They talk about him in preseason, and then we get into the season, and he kind of disappears.
Yeah, look, he had the same kind of thing last year. Everybody talked about him. He kind of, works as kind of a fullback on that offense too, which is interesting. But he doesn't do a lot for me. I'm not interested. He doesn't get like I say he's a fullback, but don't expect him to get any goal line work. He does get a decent amount of catches, but he's not on a good offense, and I don't see a lot of upside. I see him as, maybe the 10th best tight end at the end of the season. Maybe. I think he's 15. Could be wrong. Bengals defense is good. Hauschka is a good kicker. Got a leg. D'Angelo Williams. I'm looking at the wrong team, aren't I? No?
No, you're on the right team.
Okay, picture. We already talked about him. We already talked about all these guys. Yeah. To me, it's a team that I'm okay with, but I see the running back as such an issue that I can't grade it well. So I'm going to give it a C-.
I'm with you. I'm okay with the team, but I'm down on several of the positions, so that's a C- for me.
Yeah. All right, well, that's a C-. We agree on that one. I don't know if that's a good or bad sign. C-. It's not a terrible place to be as far as our grading. So maybe Eric's team is a stud team waiting to happen. Their championship potential. They won it a couple years ago, or 3 years ago now, and they were in it 2 years ago. So this is not a franchise that doesn't know how to win. And they were good last year too. So hard to say we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I bet when we get to the end of the year, this team at running back looks completely different.
Yeah, I'm prepared to delete this entire podcast by about week 6. So, watch it while you can or listen while you can. Next, with the 14th pick, was Caleb Quinones' team. This was the Brando Calrissian, that team, still with the old name. Okay, let's look. I like this team. Bob Griffin Jr. as the quarterback, if he's healthy, is a stud. He has top 7 potential. But I gotta see if he's healthy, until then. Then running back. Ryan Matthews, I think we've both gotten burned by him before.
Yeah,
and, he's in a sort of a weird timeshare with 3 guys, all have different roles, but he's kind of the first down guy. And sometimes second down guy, and rarely the third down guy. So, he's got
glass collarbones.
Yeah, glass collarbones.
A little fumbly.
He looked pretty good for most of the year last year, so it was his best year for sure. But even still, he has a ceiling, and it's pretty low.
Right.
Pierre Thomas.
Looks. I mean, again, he's in that group in New Orleans, but I think he's the third guy in that group.
Yeah.
So this is really hard for me to take as an RB2.
I do not want, as I said before, I do not want a New Orleans running back in my backfield. So I can't appreciate him. He'll have his weeks, but for most weeks, I think 10 out of 16 weeks he's a non-starter.
Mm-hmm.
Brendan Marshall, Larry Fitzgerald, Jimmy Graham.
Yeah,
those are the next three guys.
This is where this team spices it up.
So
right?
yeah, Brandon Marshall, I love, and I think he's. Look, I think I like him better than I like Alshon Jeffrey. Thank you again. It's only getting later, so I'm only going to get worse than this. I like him more, even though it was kind of equal playing field last year. I think he's still the go-to guy. I think Jay Cutler loves him. Jay Cutler will be back in the saddle. Brandon Marshall to me is a top 5 guy. We seem to say that a lot. But it's all the top 5 guys, maybe 6, 7, 8 guys in the top 5.
Sure.
But yeah, he's certainly
top 5 potential. We'll
right.
keep saying that. None of these guys are all going to shake out
right.
there. So.
And as far as like these top 5 guys we're talking about, he catches so many and he has so many targets. He may be the most targeted guy.
Yeah.
I mean, there'll be weeks where he'll catch 10, 12 balls. And his down weeks 7, I mean, I love Brandon Marshall. And Larry Fitzgerald, look, we both kind of feel the same way. He's one of the most talented receivers in the NFL. Maybe, the second most talented after Calvin Johnson. I would have said a few years ago he was probably more talented than Calvin.
Mm-hmm.
Just that team doesn't seem to put him in that place, though.
Absolutely. Carson Palmer is a better option than the quarterbacks he's had in the past, but no one's saying Carson Palmer is elite. Not anymore. So, again, hasn't had an elite quarterback since Kurt Warner, and they went to the Super Bowl, and he had a...
We won't forget that playoff run.
Yeah, we won't. I mean, he had an amazing year. So,
yeah.
And then, of course, Jimmy Graham, unarguably the best.
We don't need to talk about him. Let's get back to him.
Yeah,
he's the guy.
He's the best.
Even if Gronk's healthy, I prefer Jimmy Graham because he will stay healthy.
Nailed it, Jimmy Graham.
Kerry Robinson, flex?
I like this pick. I actually like this way better than Pierre Thomas. If I was going to put a guy in, I like this guy. I think he's the number 1B, 1A on that team. But same problem we talked about before. How do you start one of these New Orleans running backs? Much less if you have 2. Right. How do you start 2?
You're not going to start both. That's the thing. This is a problem that Caleb's going to have to sort out. Having 2 of them. Pierre Thomas, again, not a fan. Kerry Robinson, like a little more, and he could be the guy at the end of the season. I think he's probably kind of can play a little more of the Sproles role, but even still, yeah, it's a 1A, 1B kind of thing. You don't know which he's going to be on a pass-first offense. So we'll have to wait and see. Broncos defense, his other running backs, Carlos Hyde, I think we both like. We'll see what happens with Frank Gore this year. I think Carlos may get a little more playing time. So that's not bad, and then DeAnthony Thomas, who's kind of look. I think he's more of a receiving weapon than a running back, but I don't like him. Yeah, I don't think he sees the field much.
Right, he's the 3 or 4, in that team. So maybe in a couple years this guy's a weapon, but I think it's a little early to have him on your roster. Right.
So that's other receivers after those studs we talked about. I like him, Mike Williams. He was always good with the Bucks, and I've started him before, and I've been okay with that. I think when he's healthy, he's pretty reliable. He won't score a lot, but he's okay to have on your bench. And then Marquise Lee, I would like him better on another team.
Yeah, all reports out of Jacksonville are that he looks good. He looks like a potential number 1. But again, he's a potential number 1 and really a number 2 or number 3 probably on the team. Right. And he's not on a very good team.
No, he's not. And look, he's not going to overtake Cecil Shorts at the start of the season at least.
No,
and maybe by the end of the season they're equal. But what does that mean? You can get 500-600 yards out of him, then you're okay. But I don't see much more than that. Then the only guy left is Johnny Football.
Johnny Manziel.
I like him.
I do like him a little early. Probably.
A little early. I think I'll have to look up what round it is if you talk about it.
I think it was the 8th round.
8th round, yeah, I think you're right.
But yeah, I mean, Johnny Manziel is Johnny Manziel, right? He's a lightning rod for all the attention. Everyone's been talking about him all offseason, but he's not the starter in Cleveland yet. However, he could be mid-season. and everything you see on this guy is dynamic. So to follow up Bob Griffin, who could be injury prone or changes, with a guy who midseason could be amazing, I think is a really interesting 1-2 punch.
Yeah, look, you don't take Johnny Manziel with a middle of the first round pick in the NFL draft to not expect him to start at some point during the season. I think he will be by week 6. Certainly the starter. I think it will be earlier on. So he could be the week 1 starter. And yeah, like you said, Bob Griffin Jr. is injury prone, and I just see that that's a great backup to have. The same kind of guy. Manziel may have even a higher upside. Maybe not this year, but going forward. Yeah, look, I would have wanted him on my roster if he had fallen to me a little bit later, a couple rounds later. Yeah, you were right about the 8th round, a little early, but he's got him. And, top to bottom, this is not a bad team if you can stomach the running backs.
Yeah, the running backs are a huge issue for me. 2 New Orleans running backs on a team without a solid number 1 is tough. So, for me, this is a really middle-of-the-road squad. Not good or bad, so a solid C.
Yeah, I agree with you for the most part. I think the tight end, having the one guy for sure is going to be a stud, and then having those wide receivers and the options at quarterback, I'm going to go C+. So that's a C.
C+.
C+. Yeah, that's nothing wrong with that. Moving on, Tim with the 15th pick.
Oh, poor Tim.
Oh man, this is gonna be rough. Yeah, this is I am number 12, I believe. Is that correct? No, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong. No, that would be. I'm sorry. That is I am number 12.
I am 12.
I am number 12.
So I don't think Tim did a terrible job drafting this year, but he may have had the worst starting roster with keepers of Andrew Luck and Trent.
It was a tough place to go from.
Trent Richardson.
Yep.
But, let's go over it. So Andrew Luck, we may have a little bit differing opinion here. I think Andrew Luck is a top 10 quarterback and has a higher ceiling than any of the other quarterbacks.
Got some papers there. I heard that.
For shuffling.
That got picked up, yeah.
Shuffling some papers. Has a higher ceiling than a lot of the quarterbacks taken where he was. So I like Andrew Luck a lot this year.
Luck is luck. He's what Manning was in year 6, and he just finished his 2nd year. He is going to be a stud, and he probably, I bet in a couple of years he's that 4th guy. And look, Manning will retire eventually, and Breeze, Rodgers, Luck. I think that'll be your top 3. So, and maybe this year is the first year of your shots, like you said. You think he's got top 3 potential, top 5 certainly. I think he will be in there. Trent Richardson as your RB1.
Hard to stomach.
Yeah, no, I hate that. Gonna come right and say it. That's a bad pick. It's a keeper, of course. He didn't have many options, and then you think, okay, we got to fix it with your second running back.
Right.
You don't.
You got C.J. Spiller, and this guy's got upside and potential, and everything we hear every year is this guy is a star waiting to happen, and it never happens.
Right.
When he's healthy and out there, he does look dynamic, but you got to couple that with the fact that Fred Jackson's still there, and now they have Bryce Brown behind him. So I worry about this pick at C.J. Spiller. It could be a dynamic pick, but we don't think so.
We're enough years into the C.J. Spiller experience,
yeah.
Which is a good band name, by the way, the C.J. Spiller experience, that we know what we're getting. And I don't think it's going to really change that much this year. I think he's going to be pretty good. But I wouldn't trust him week in, week out. As a flex, I'm good with him.
Mm-hmm.
As an RB2, borderline RB1 on this team, I think they have to find a replacement. Right. At least they got to find somebody to go with him, partner with him. But your wide receiver 1 is Victor Cruz, who I think we went pretty late, considering the type of talent he has and the type of bounce back year he's due for. Look, he doesn't have anybody opposite him like Nix was last year. Cruz is always the more talented of the two. I think we agree on that. And for some reason, last year they could not score through the air, and I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think Cruz is due to get 8-10 touchdowns this year, and he had 4 all of last year, and he's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver minimum. He could do 1,200 yards. So if he does 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns, which, that's great, especially where he went. I think he was an early 4th rounder. Maybe he went late in the 3rd, but
Yeah, I think this is a good pick. I think Tim's going to be the one salsing at the end of the year on this.
Yeah,
pick.
this is definitely dance-worthy.
So
yeah,
and to follow that up, then you've got Golden Tate, and I like Golden Tate a lot this year. Really great wide receiver, has gone to a better offense opposite Calvin Johnson. We know what Calvin Johnson's going to do year in, year out, okay? We know he's going to
be all right.
Right, he's going to be okay.
Yeah, startable.
And he gets double teamed and he still gets his production, but someone has got to be on the other side of the field.
Right.
And Matt Stafford has had some weapons over there, but I don't think any of them have been as good as Golden Tate.
No.
And so I think his potential with this wide receiver 2 is a really good spot for him to be.
Yeah, Tate coming from being the number 1 with Seattle last year, I think that, this is, as far as wide receiver 2 goes, I have no problem with it. If he was a flex, I would love it.
Mm-hmm.
But as a number 2, he's going to be pretty serviceable. Most weeks, he will get you, if not a touchdown, he'll get some yards. Tight end, Jordan Cameron. We think we both really like this guy. He will do probably at least what he did last year. Now, he obviously kind of disappeared in the second half for stretches of last season, but, and look, they don't have Josh Gordon to kind of take away some of the pressure, but he's going to be a safety blanket for whoever's at quarterback. And he's a big guy. He's got the body. I think he could be a top 3 tight end. And especially if Gronk does. He's at worst a top 5, top 7 guy. So you don't have to worry about your tight end there.
Yeah.
At your flex, you got Dwayne Bowe. Never been a Dwayne Bowe fan, but and he's suspended for 1 game. We know that, but he's all right as a flex.
Yeah, I think that's a decent flex spot. Not a huge fan of Dwayne Bowe, but it's a decent flex spot. Patriots defense, kicker, they're there. Okay, they're people. Crosby's actually one of the better kickers on that offense, but we're not talking kickers today.
No, we're not.
Okay.
You're looking for the kicker conversation. We'll save that for another week.
Right, that's a different.
And it will be a different podcast. Yeah, because we will never do it.
So then you get to the bench, and a lot of wide receiver talent here, but I don't know about it. Okay, so Hakeem Nicks is now with Indy. What is he, the replacement for Darius Hayward-Bay?
Yeah, which, look, with Reggie Wayne back, what does that mean?
3, 4, who are you on that roster? So I don't know about this. And then Stevie Johnson, okay, a talented guy, but now he's on, again, same kind of situation. He's a number 3 in San Francisco, maybe a number 4 if you count Vernon Davis.
Yeah, I think, both those guys, we've seen what they can do when they're a number 1 or number 2, and you like it. You do, and they have some weeks. But when they're pushed down a peg, and they're maybe not the starter, then, they're going to be a guy you plug in on a bye week. That's what they are. And that's all they're going to be unless somebody gets injured, which could happen, and then they have a lot more upside. But until then, they are what they are.
So then you've got the bench running backs. Terrence West, I love this pick. I like this guy. I think this guy is the number 1. I think Ben Tate, he gets overtaken partway through the year. So I think this is a really good pick up, and Terrence West has a lot more talent. And then Marcel Reese, he's one of 4 guys who can run the ball in Oakland.
Yeah, Oakland always has a deep backfield, and you don't know how it's going to pan out. Yeah, talented. We saw a little bit of him last year. He had flashes, but look, on this team with this running back roster, I don't mind him. He's good to have.
Right.
You're going to need some depth.
EJ Manuel, both of us are a little confused by this, but
Andrew Luck's not missing time.
There's so many 2 quarterback teams in this league now. Honestly, if you need a quarterback off the waiver wires, it's going to be tough this year.
It will be tough. So look. So with that note, I don't hate EJ. I think there may be a few others that I like a little more, but he does. You will get some running yards. It is an offense that is going to be a little wacky.
Yeah. So this team is weird for me because I think Tim drafted well this year, but the bar where he started was so low. His ceiling was really capped in the beginning. Yep. So for me, this team is a C+, just because I think they did really well with what they had.
Yeah, and I agree for the most part. I think, tough spot to start with. Mm-hmm. Probably had, as far as just taking out the keepers, probably had one of the better drafts. You got good everywhere, but
the keeper's so hard.
Yeah, it's so tough, hard. And you know how I feel about running backs. There's just nothing there. I got to go C. Which nothing wrong with that. So that's a C+.
C+.
Nothing wrong. Hey, Tim, you should be very happy with that. Considering what you
Considering
started
where it
with.
came from,
You
so.
know what you started with, and got to be happy. So yeah, last, Mr. Relevant for our purposes, but always pretty relevant in the standings.
Is this where we cut the tape?
This is where we're gonna cut.
Yeah,
So
we'll
yeah,
cut right
for
here.
next week we'll finish off the rest of the draft. No, Jordan Funderburk fits a trap. Team name pending for this season. What do you think?
Yeah, I like this team. He starts out, it's quarterback position with Matthew's staph infection. A quarterback I've had in the past, and I know Jordan really likes it. Kind of every year, he's taken him before me. But I like him this year. Again, a guy with a high ceiling and a very low floor. Like his floor, he's gonna be 3,500 yards passing. His ceiling is 5,000. That would be unheard of. But really, as much as they throw the ball around, his ceiling is super high.
Yeah, no problem, especially where he went. I believe he was probably the first pick of the 4th round if we're counting the keepers around. So yeah, there he's kind of a steal a bit. And yeah, he's going to be a top 10 quarterback, no question. Nothing's changed. They're going to pass the ball. And they have Calvin Johnson. If nothing else, Calvin Johnson is going to get 100 yards and a touchdown pretty much every week.
Right.
That's Stafford's going to be throwing it to him. So yeah, that's great. Then Alfred Morris, is a keeper, and I really like him as a number 1. I can't love him because he doesn't catch anything. You could basically just toss it to him from a foot away, and he'll drop it.
The guy can't catch a ball.
The guy can't catch a ball, and they don't try to use him that way, which is fine because they run an offense that's geared toward the running back, and he will get 1,200 yards, and he will get 10 touchdowns. So he's a great number 1. Your backup, your number 2 is Maurice Jones-Drew. Mixed feelings.
Really mixed emotions here. I mean, he's the number 1 in Oakland. If I was going to take an Oakland running back, this is the one I would want. I think between the tackles, this is going to be the best guy. But how much does he play?
Right.
Is this a timeshare? Is he hurt? So on and so on. Questions.
If he's who he was 3 years ago, it's fantastic. And then you have maybe one of the best 1-2 punches in the league. If not,
you've got a 1 punch.
You've got a 1 punch, and you've got an Oakland running back.
Right. Then we move into the ultra talented again wide receiver class. We're hearing a lot of this, but Dez, we all love Dez. Not only is he a cowboy, but he's elite wide receiver material.
Yep.
And Sammy Watkins, again, we don't know anything about this guy, but he is...
I wouldn't say we know nothing.
Well, we know some things. We don't know anything NFL-wise. When we always joke about, you got to show me. We know he's a first-round pick. We know he's a high pick, and we know he's got a lot of talent. And if he does anything near what he did in college, he's going to be a stud in Buffalo. My question mark on him is E.J. Manuel's throwing him the ball, and you have to have confidence in E.J. Manuel to have confidence in this pick.
Yeah, and that's the one downside. I think that he is the number 1 in Buffalo. And if there's ever a for sure thing in the rookie season, probably the guy I feel most confident about being a sure thing wide receiver coming into the NFL since Julio Jones and A.J. Green. And we saw who they were in the rookie seasons, which was fantastic. They were 1,000-yard guys or 900-yard guys, 8 touchdowns. And I think he could be that. I think he could be 800 yards, 8 touchdowns. But he's got potential to be much more. So, yeah, nothing wrong with that pick. He's a great wide receiver, too. And then, you look at your tight end, Rob Gronkowski. If he's healthy, he's he tight end 1A, 1B kind of thing. But, he's right there with Jimmy Graham.
That's an argument you like to have.
Right.
Is my tight end better than yours?
Look, if he plays 10 games, and he's healthy for 10 games, it's a great pick. He's that good. He's a guy who's got 42 career touchdowns in 50 career games. You don't get that anywhere. You don't even get that from Jimmy Graham.
No.
You can't find that. So, yeah, he's healthy as the last pick of the 3rd round. Yeah, that's a steal.
Right, I agree. So the flex position here, actually, initially really like it. Bernard Pierce is the starter for the Ravens starting out the season with Ray Rice's suspension for 2 games. So you really got an RB1 in your flex for the first 2 games.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we saw who last year was not great for anyone out of their backfield last year, or the Ravens offense entirely. But we saw a couple years ago that he has that same kind of style as Ray Rice. He's maybe a little bit stouter, but same kind of guy, and he can play all three downs. So, yeah, for at least the first couple weeks, he's going to produce, I believe. I don't know who else they have behind him right now, but I don't imagine that they're an issue. And if Ray Rice does miss any more time for any reason, he had some injury issues last year, Pierce is a great guy to have.
Absolutely. And then you start this running back stack on the bench. Trey Mason, a guy you like in St. Louis. If anything happens to Zach Stacy, or even if, as the season shakes out, he's just more talented. Devontae Freeman, back up in Atlanta. We know Steven Jackson's having a hard time staying healthy.
Yeah, that's a guy I really like.
Yeah. Jeremy Hill in Cincy. Again, all of these guys are great handcuffs, but they all have that question mark of they're only good if. And we know running backs get hurt in the NFL, so this is a great strategy.
You need to have those guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But he's got that if, right? If one of these guys pans out, you're a genius. If they don't, he's going to have them dropped by the 4th or 5th week.
Right. And I imagine that one of them will pan out. There's just a question of which one, and you're going to hang on to him long enough to see. Mm-hmm. As far as the rest of the bench, he's also got Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis, so he's got Jeremy Hill and, the law firm. I don't know that you need Ben Jarvis. I think Jeremy Hill will pretty much overtake him. I guess it's nice to have just in case. I don't imagine he'll be on the team that long unless something happens to Jeremy Hill or to Gio, and then you might want him. And then the only other guy on the bench is Aaron Dobson, New England wide receiver. Not a fan, personally. I don't know that they've got so many guys that are just, a guy on that team.
Yeah,
I don't think
Edelman,
Brady has him. Right.
Kimbrell Tompkins, Amendola.
Yeah, and if Gronk's healthy,
Vereen.
Yeah. They're going to spread it around. He doesn't have that much upside to me, and he's got a pretty low floor. So, but you never know. There could be injuries. He could move up. He's got a lot of talent, but I haven't seen anything to make me think he will be. So for me, this is, I love the quarterback. I love the top running back. I love the receivers. But there's just a lot of ifs, as you said. So I'm going to go with a B.
Yeah, this is a pretty solid team to me. There's a lot of question marks. Injury is always. I can say that about every team, I guess.
Right.
But this team has some injury concerns, some question marks at the top. So this is a solid team to me, though. I also give it a B.
Yeah. So that's a B. Look, it's a team that...
A B for better not get hurt.
Yeah, or better get hurt. Yeah. I like it. I might really like it in a few weeks.
Right.
Or I might hate it.
Absolutely.
So we'll have to wait and see. We've gotten through every team. Let's
wrap this up a little bit. We promise in the weeks following these will be shorter.
This was an extra long. Obviously, our draft recap is going to be a little bit longer, going through all 16 rosters man by man. Kickers don't count. I think in weeks coming, or I think in a couple weeks at the most, we'll do our season preview. We'll go through and look at how we think the divisions will pan out, our playoff teams, and then we'll go through who our champions are. Sure to be wrong. Sure to be wrong champions.
Can't wait to get some guests involved in the podcast.
Yep, and probably starting next week we'll have guests. Don't have that for you who that will be, so it'll be a bit of a surprise. But we'll have an owner on each week. So look forward to that. And,
so if you're shy, turn your phone off. Don't answer your emails.
Right. But I will find you. So look out for that. And then we'll also, as we get into the season, we'll do a recap of the games, brief recaps, and then we'll do a pre-cap of the games that are coming up. And we'll just talk a little bit about, roster moves, trades that are going on. We'll just go through a little bit of that. We'll try to keep things pretty short. Try to go for a half hour in length usually.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically how it's going to run from now on. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I'm looking forward to the season. Again, if we graded you poorly, I'm sorry about that. But
you mean if we graded them well?
No. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
we graded you poorly. It's probably a good sign.
Yeah.
So hope it wasn't too harsh. Try to stay positive, and hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah. So thanks for listening. If you stayed through to this point, God rest your soul. We
need to find you a hobby.
Right. You have too much free time on your hand. But thanks for listening, and we'll catch you later on.